Forget New Year, New You. This season is about slowing down, locking the doors, and cozying up at home with the one you really want to do nothing with. Your dog. After the holiday chaos, those quiet nights with a blanket, a podcast, and your pup feel like the reset you actually need. Ollie helps make those moments easier with fresh protein-packed meals made from real human-grade ingredients, so your dog can enjoy some quality comfort food too. Choose from 5 recipes and get a personalized plan for your dog's needs. Meals arrive perfectly proportioned with a scoop and storage container, so serving is fast and mess-free. And with Ollie's in-app on-demand health screenings, supporting your dog is easy, ensuring more cuddles for many years to come. Visit ollie.com/truecrime and use code TRUECRIME for 60% off your first box.
During the long days of what can feel like an endless summer in Ruskin, Florida, it was a common occurrence to see 39-year-old Michael Keatley driving his big purple ice cream van down the street. Louder than the horn blasting the classic ice cream jingle was the van's bright violet paint job and lime green rims. A big stop sign sticker adorned the back of the van to warn oncoming vehicles to stop for kids. Summer or winter, really, it didn't matter. This was Florida, and ice cream was a year-round necessity. Keatley was a familiar face amongst the community. He was known as Mike the Ice Cream Man and knew all the parts of the city, good and bad. On January 23, 2010, just after 6:30 p.m., Keatley was wrapping up his route in the van. He had stopped to fuel up on gas for the next day's shift and had begun driving home to get ready for a date. Suddenly, he spotted a last-minute customer, 3 actually, flagging him down on the side of the street. He pulled over and went to go take their orders, when all 3 people, whom Keatley recalled as 2 black men and 1 black woman, boarded his van, demanding cash. Keatley wasn't in the business of making bank in the ice cream industry and often sold his inventory for $1 or less. He had only been doing this for a year at the time. The intruders gunned Keatley down, shooting him 5 times. They shot him in the leg and in his chest. 1 bullet went in his left arm. Another went through his right arm and wrist. The attackers took $12 from his cash tray and fled. His right hand was mangled, his leg in excruciating pain, and he couldn't even feel his left hand. He drove to a nearby house to ask for help. Police were soon on their way.
When you arrive at that location, what are your observations when you get there?
There was an ice cream truck in the driveway, and in the driver's seat there was a male who had been shot, and there was some blood throughout the various spots within the ice cream truck.
Michael Keatley was taken to the hospital. He survived. Local authorities could do little with only a description of 3 masked people. Keatley told them that he was sure it was 3 black people, but could offer a little more than that. He grew frustrated and was forced to undergo months of physical therapy in order to walk properly and relearn how to feed himself. The shooting had left his right hand nearly disabled. He posted flyers around town offering a reward for information leading to the attackers. He questioned locals as he served them ice cream, wondering if they had heard anything around town. The community fundraised money for his medical and therapy bills. They rallied around him in support, as small communities often do when tragedy strikes. But this story would stretch far beyond the robbery and shooting of Michael Keatley. It would boil over into a story of revenge, obsession, resentment, murder, and vigilante justice that would span the course of 13 years and 2 trials. And it would beg the all too important question, can you really trust the person next door? This is Jillian in partnership with Law and Crime. You are listening to Court Junkie, episode 243. In the months following the shooting, Michael Keatley struggled to walk again, developing a pronounced limp. He had undergone 3 different surgeries. Doctors forecasted that his healing process could be extensive. as they continued to test the nerves impacted by the bullet wounds. He struggled with basic everyday care and even wore Velcro shoes because his fine motor skills weren't what they used to be. Keatley moved in with his elderly parents so they could assist him with everyday tasks. But in the meantime, the communication between Keatley and the local police department had become non-existent regarding his case, and he was growing frustrated. After all, whoever these people were had left him for dead on the road he frequently traveled down, all for a measly $12. In addition to posting flyers and asking his customers if they knew anything, he also offered a $1,500 reward. Whatever small pieces of information and neighborhood gossip Keatley collected, he passed along to the local police, but they continued to ask him if he could let them do their jobs and stop interfering with the investigation. The trail, along with any leads, eventually went cold. Months passed, and Keatley and the community tried to get back to normal. But by November 2010, tragedy would strike again. On the night of November 25th, 2010, Thanksgiving, 7 men were gunned down on the front porch of an Ocean Mist Court home in Ruskin, Florida, not far from where Keatley's own shooting had taken place. It was around 2 a.m., and the men had stayed up late into the night, catching up and hanging out, as families and friends often do over the holidays. They had been drinking and playing cards when suddenly a dark-colored minivan pulled up in front of the home. An unidentified man emerged from the vehicle, wearing a shirt that said "Sheriff" across the front. He instructed the men to identify themselves, to lay down on the ground and pull out their IDs. He was carrying what appeared to be a rifle. But as the men, who were both confused and frightened, attempted to follow the man's instructions, the man started to shoot them one by one. They caught only glimpses of him as they attempted to shield themselves and others from the shooting. In the end, 2 men were shot dead, brothers Juan Guitron and Sergio Guitron. 4 others were badly wounded: Daniel Beltran, Gonzalo Guevara, Ramon Galan Jr., and Richard Cantu. The 7th man managed to run away, and the gunman escaped into the night. As police arrived and the victims were transported to nearby hospitals, one question spun around in everyone's mind. Who could have done something like this? Gonzalo Guevara, who had been shot 4 times during the attack, offered up an interesting piece of information to investigators. The white man who had emerged from the minivan, wearing the sheriff's T-shirt, had asked all of them to lay down on the ground and show him their IDs. But he also asked, "Where's Creeper?" Creeper was actually a man named Omar Bailan, a Hispanic man who lived just doors down from the house where the victims were shot. A local neighborhood informant tipped off police that the suspect they might be looking for was none other than the ice cream man, Michael Keatley, and a large text message chain was also making its way around the community, pointing to Keatley as the killer. But could Keatley really be capable of something this horrific? And why would he do something like that? On November 27th, investigators searched Keatley's home. They found shells from a weapon, an old car that had been used for target practice, and a minivan that matched the victim's description, or the vehicle the gunman had arrived in. It belonged to his parents. A notebook on his kitchen counter contained information on Creeper, including the man's real name and address. A forensic team concluded in their report that one of the shell casings from Keatley's home matched the ones found at the crime scene. Inside his home, they also found 2 bulletproof vests and handcuffs. It wouldn't take long for the sheriff's department to begin building their case on Michael Keatley. In the days following the shooting, many witnesses had come forward with stories of how he had talked endlessly about finding the people who had robbed him back in January. One witness claimed Keatley had recently purchased a gun that was easy for him to hold with his disabilities. Another witness told investigators via an affidavit that Keatley owned several police badges and uniforms and talked often about getting justice for his robbery. Keatley was arrested on November 28th, just 3 days after the shooting, but on a completely unrelated charge. He had violated a domestic violence injunction, according to deputies for Hillsborough County, and had been making harassing and obscene phone calls to a neighbor. He quickly bonded out of jail. Meanwhile, one of the surviving victims of the shooting, Gonzalo Guevara, identified Keatley as the shooter from a photo lineup he was shown as he lay in his hospital bed. By December 2nd, investigators believed they had enough to arrest Keatley and charge him with 2 counts of first-degree murder and 4 counts of attempted first-degree murder. Hillsborough County Sheriff David Gee said at the time that it was a case of mistaken identity and that investigators believed that in his quest to find the people who had shot him and left him disabled, Keatley had opened fire on the wrong people. "We believe he went to the wrong residence and had bad intelligence on who this guy was," Gee said. "We don't know how he came to fixate on them. He took the law into his own hands, and well beyond that." Keatley pleaded not guilty to all 6 counts. The community was in a state of shock that the man they had trusted, especially around their children, could have done something so horrific. Several of the victims had been customers of his, and one of them had even donated to his medical bill fundraiser that had been going around town. But Michael Keatley and the victims' families would have a long journey to court as the state tried to build their case against him. Most of the evidence was circumstantial. No actual murder weapon had been found, and eyewitness accounts from victims were based off minuscule glimpses in the dark of night. In 2018, 8 years after being arrested, Keatley was still behind bars. The local law enforcement had treated the case as a mass shooting, since 7 people had been involved. But on June 18, 2018, a circuit judge ruled that the evidence stacked up against Keatley was not enough to deny him bond. This would be his first opportunity to go home since the incident, under the condition that he would be under house arrest with a GPS monitor. The bond was set at $900,000, a number which Keatley, nor anyone he knew, could afford. On February 3, 2020, Keatley's trial finally began. He was facing life in prison if he was found guilty. The DA's office had decided not to seek the death penalty. The trial lasted for about 3 weeks, and on February 21, 2020, the jury said they had an announcement. They were deadlocked. 2 jurors had voted to convict him, but 10 had voted for his acquittal. They informed the judge that their decision would not change. The judge declared a mistrial and set a new court date for May 2020. But just a month later, COVID happened, and what was originally meant as a few months would result in a 3-year delay. Michael Keatley was back in court on March 6, 2023, this time with a new attorney. Michelle Doherty gave the opening statements for the prosecution.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Obsessing about revenge. That's what this case is about. Obsession with getting revenge is what was on the defendant's mind the early morning hours of November 25th of 2010. The only thing on his mind those early morning hours of that Thanksgiving morning in 2010, when he shot and killed 2 innocent victims, 2 brothers, Juan and Sergio Guitron, and tried to kill 4 other victims who fortunately survived the horrifying events of those early morning hours.
She told the jury about how Keatley had been robbed of $12 and shot just 11 months prior to the murders, and how investigators were unable to find whoever was responsible.
And unfortunately, they were not able to make any arrests in that robbery investigation. They were not able to identify any suspects. And Mr. Keatley was upset about that. He was upset that he had been injured and that no one was going to pay for that. He was upset that law enforcement was not able to complete and close out that investigation with an arrest.
She said he decided to do his own investigation.
He was going to go out and speak to witnesses. He was going to try to obtain evidence. And as this case will unfold over these next several weeks, you will learn from numerous witnesses about what he did in his investigation. He spoke to people in the neighborhood. He conducted research, website research on his laptop. He obtained firearms. And as his investigation unfolded, word on the street was that Hispanic individuals, Hispanic males, were in fact responsible for the robbery. Not of the individuals of the race that he ultimately had identified or had provided to law enforcement. And that he had uncovered these Hispanic males were the ones who ultimately had caused him harm and had robbed him.
She said he learned from people on the street that someone nicknamed Creeper was one of the suspects. She said he researched and spoke to people about Creeper and then actively started looking for him.
And as he's conducting his own investigation, he learns that this Creeper man lives at 507 Ocean Mist Court. And why is that important? Because this horrifying incident that occurred on November 25th of 2010 was at the address of 604 Ocean Mist Court, just down the street from the home of this Creeper person.
She said he had his friends drive around looking for Creeper and offered a reward.
And this obsession with revenge is festering and festering from January until November 25th of 2010. And you will see that from the evidence.
Doherty said that as the investigation ramped up, law enforcement followed up on the tips they had received pointing to Keatley as the killer. On November 27th, they interviewed him and asked him about Creeper and Creeper's alleged involvement in Keatley's January robbery. Keatley denied knowing who Creeper was and denied his involvement. He also denied ever discussing Creeper with others. Attorney John Grant gave the opening statements for the defense. He said Michael Keatley was not only innocent, but that he couldn't have committed the shooting. He went back to the day Keatley himself was shot. He said what the prosecution didn't say was that the people who robbed him had been wearing ski masks. All Keatley could see was their eyes. He told the jury that Keatley was shot in his leg, chest, shoulder, and hand that day.
You're going to hear a phrase called radial nerve palsy. And that simply means Michael Keatley's radial nerve, which goes from your shoulder through your arm, down to your hand, to your fingers and your thumbs, it wasn't working properly. That's what you're going to hear. And that really the only thing that could be done was to see if there would be some response over time.
He said due to his injuries, Keatley couldn't have been the killer.
In order for Michael Keatley to do anything, he has to think about it. Brushing his teeth requires thought and planning. Things that are taken for granted do not happen.
He told the jury that they might hear from Keatley's former girlfriend and friends, who might say that they never noticed his inability to move his hands properly. But he said those testimonials would be contradictory to the medical testimony they'll present.
The hand is not his only disability. All of this is going to be important for you because you're going to have to realize that medically, irrefutably, the evidence will show that his movements are slow. They are deliberate. They are awkward. They are uncoordinated. Spoiler alert, like nothing any of these people on the porch will describe. That's Michael Keatley.
He said the men on the porch were victims and that what happened was awful, but he pointed out that marijuana and cocaine were found at the scene. He said there are issues with identification here. He said it was a quick event, that it happened fast, in seconds.
And not only was it quick, it was dark. The evidence will be that there is no street light in front of Ocean Mist. There was only one small porch light. A shadow comes, a shadow shoots, a shadow goes. Dr. Dysert will ask you to consider weapon focus.
He said there will be some discrepancies in what the witnesses say happened, but that all witnesses do agree that a black pump action shotgun was used.
Daniel Beltran and Jose Rodriguez should tell you that after each shot, the shooter had to rack and shoot, rack and shoot, using two hands.
He said the descriptions of the shooter the victims gave also didn't match Keatley. He said one of the victims, Jose Rodriguez, told police that he had never seen the shooter before in his life.
I have never seen this man before in my life. Police will get a series of photos, including Michael Keatley's picture, and a deputy or other officer not involved in the investigation. He will show him the photographs. Michael Keatley involved in that. And you know what Jose Rodriguez does? Doesn't pick out Michael Keatley. So the evidence will show, drove through that neighborhood, round and round in his purple ice cream truck. Jose Rodriguez has been on that porch just feet away when Michael Keatley stopped. Jose Rodriguez has been on that porch as he's watched his kids buy ice cream, nachos, whatever. Maybe not even always having to pay. Jose Rodriguez, on 8 to 10 occasions, has said, I bought from that guy. I have never seen this man before in my life. So what changes?
He said a mass text message was sent out that morning that said, "This is the guy who shot Magic and Spider. If anyone sees him, the cops are looking for him. It's the same guy who got shot in OSC. He was the ice cream man back in January." Accompanying the text message was a photo of Michael Keatley. A man named Juan Hernandez, who had heard about the shooting and had come to the scene, got the text, and he went to Jose Rodriguez with it.
A cascade of unreliability and suggestiveness begins right here. Because you know what Juan Hernandez does? He goes to Jose Rodriguez. You know that guy? Yeah, it's the ice cream man. He's the shooter. And so now, under that, Michael Keatley did it. the ice cream.
He said he would like to know where that text message originated from, but that police never followed up on it.
And when Juan Hernandez says, I'm not going to tell you where I got it, the lead detective in this case says, okay. Curious that this text is going out. As the evidence will show, there was no eyewitness. Jose Rodriguez had not given a full statement. Gonzalo Guevara is in the hospital. He will not talk for days. Daniel Beltran, he's in serious condition as well. There are no home cameras or surveillance footage. No one on the porch spoke to law enforcement besides Jose Rodriguez, who said, I have never seen that man before in my life. One picture changes his tune. So that is why we're going to argue that this is a case of misidentification.
He told the jury that after seeing the text message, a detective then went to the hospital the next day and demonstrated a photo lineup for one of the victims. And Grant pointed out that it was never recorded. He said the police pulled Keatley over the night of the murders and told him they wanted to talk to him about his robbery and shooting case. Keatley agreed to go with them, and they brought him into an interrogation room. He gave a statement, and another officer, Detective Schramm, gave him a ride home, where another conversation happened.
And in that other discussion, there are things said by David Schramm. And what are they telling him? They start saying, we think you did this. We know you're the one who committed this crime. They say to him, we've been planning to get a search warrant since 10 o'clock this morning. David Schramm will have to admit that's not true. They say Detective Schramm and his partner, they say, we've got someone who puts you at the scene. That's not true. They say, we're going to take over your case. We're going to find out who did what happened to you. That's not true. They say, we have phone records which put you at the scene of the crime. That is not only not true. Michael Keatley says, terrific. If you've got my cell phone records, you can know where I am. Do it. They never will. They never do. They have the ability, and they do not do it. That is what the evidence will be. Detective Schramm says, we've got somebody who can describe you to a T. However, he does not fit the height, he does not fit the weight, he does not fit the hair color. They even say they've got his actual work glasses that they've recovered. Time and again, the police use what they may call tools or strategic questioning, but what are really intentional misrepresentation and deceptions to get him to say, you did it. And consistently, he says, no, I did not.
He told the jury that there's a lack of evidence against his client and that investigators had rushed to judge Michael Keatley before examining every part of the case. Brianne Gregory was a bartender in the area. In April 2010, she met Michael Keatley at a bar. She testified that he told her how he had been robbed and shot by 2 men and a female. He told her they were Mexican. She ran into him again a bit later, and he asked her if she knew of anyone named Creeper. Another man who worked at a local restaurant also testified that Keatley talked to him about Creeper a few times and would ask him if he knew him or he could find out where he lived. He said he did not know who Creeper was. Stacy Rogan then took the stand. She was Keatley's ex-girlfriend. They had dated in 2009 for 6 to 9 months. She also owned and operated her own ice cream truck. When she first met Keatley, he had been laid off from his job with Delta Airlines and was doing odds and ends for extra cash. He liked her line of work so much that he decided to get into the ice cream business himself. Rogan said she helped him find a truck and taught him the ins and outs of the business. She said they broke up before the shooting and robbery Keatley was a victim of in January 2010, but that he had reached out to her after, when he was in the hospital recovering. She said Keatley explained what had happened and told her that the assailants were Black, not Hispanic. She recalled on that day Keatley had carried a gun on him, but he was unable to use it. She was unaware if that was a common occurrence while he did his ice cream routes. Rogan said the pair stayed in contact throughout the year following the shooting. She recalled him discussing how he was asking locals if they knew anything about his robbery and how he was frustrated with the lack of support from law enforcement. She told the jury that Keatley had asked her to keep an eye out for a Hispanic male named Creeper. She told Keatley that he should let the police handle it.
Did he make any statements to you regarding handling things himself or taking this investigation into his own hands?
Not those exact words, but he was actively looking for the people that had shot him.
Did he make any statements about thinking that he understands how people take things into their own hands?
Oh,
and matters
yes.
into their own hands. He understands why people do that.
Yes, 100%.
She said one day she got a phone call from Keatley, who was at the local Publix grocery store, preparing to buy a gun in the parking lot.
Did he give you any information about what kind of handgun this was that he was purchasing?
No,
Did he make any statements to you about why he was purchasing this handgun?
because that handgun that he had wasn't comfortable in his hand anymore.
When you made observations of him from that in-person contact, that one in-person contact, did you notice anything unusual or deformed or any kind of abnormality about his hand or his hand use?
No, I didn't.
She said she heard about the murders from a mass text message that was circulating the community. After she saw it, she called the police and told them what she suspected of the incident and the information Keatley had told her. Ramon Galan Jr. was stopping by the party on Ocean Mist Court on the night of the murders. He testified that he was getting ready to leave and was standing on the front steps, facing towards the house. Suddenly, he heard someone yelling.
What do you hear?
I just hear, everybody lay down, everybody lay down. Give me your IDs.
Do you get your ID out?
No.
How come?
Because as soon as I turned around, I heard a gunshot, and I was the first one to get hit.
Okay, we'll get to that in a second. When you're hearing lay down, where are you standing?
On one of the steps, like I said. I don't remember.
Do you go back up to the porch itself? Not the steps, but the actual porch at any point?
Yes.
When?
After I felt get hit, and then I went back on top.
Right.
And I laid
Had you
there.
been shot prior to going back up the steps to the porch?
Yes.
Between the time that you hear lay down and you get shot, what is going on?
I just remember one of the guys saying, just listen to what he's saying, just lay down. And then we lay down.
He was asked if he saw who the shooter was.
Did you see anything of what was going on behind you?
No, because by the time I turned around, when I got shot, I could just see like a silhouette. I seen somebody coming, but I could not make out anything.
Could you tell how many people it was?
That's one for sure.
All right. Did you hear more than one voice?
No.
He said the voice he heard was male, but he couldn't tell anything else. He spent 2 months in the hospital. Richard Cantu testified as another one of the victims in the incident. He had received a gunshot wound to the head, which had left him with serious injuries and memory loss. He had spent quite some time learning how to talk and walk again. His injuries resulted in him having no recollection of Thanksgiving 2010. He only answered simple questions on the stand about his relationships with all of the other victims, and then he was excused by the court. Gonzalo Guevara took the stand and said that even though the shooting had occurred over 12 years ago, he was still haunted by the photo that he saw during the photo lineup that helped police identify Michael Keatley. He had been in the hospital, in and out of consciousness for 5 days. He said the detective, Detective Lugo, had asked him a series of questions to make sure he was okay to proceed. He said he was on pain medication, but he did understand what Detective Lugo was asking him.
And how did you identify this person that you picked out? What did you tell? Who is that person?
That's the guy that shot me.
On November 25th of 2010?
Correct.
What was your response, or did you have an emotional reaction when you saw that photograph?
Object. Relevance.
Overruled. I'll allow it. Excuse me?
I'll allow it.
I started shaking and crying.
And why did you do that?
Because he's the guy that shot me.
Did you tell, just as those instructions say, did you tell Detective Lugo how certain you were that that was the person that you shot, that identification?
Yes. I told him I was 2,000% sure that he was the guy that shot me.
He became emotional on the stand when he discussed seeing his friends being shot one by one. He had known Juan and Sergio Guitron for years. But on cross-examination, defense attorney John Grant tried to paint his memory in a different light, saying that he was under the influence of drugs that night. He also suggested that Guevara mistook Keatley's identity after seeing his picture on a donation flyer up around town. Guevara denied that the flyer would have influenced him and even said that he had personally donated to Keatley's medical fundraiser. Henry Bowes owns a body shop that painted cars. On the day after Thanksgiving in November 2010, he saw Michael Keatley. Keatley had called him and asked him to paint a van for him, which he did. Before he got there, Keatley had pulled the headlights and taillights out. He said in order to do a nice painting job, that sort of thing would need to be done. He said Keatley did the best he could with his left hand. He was asked about Keatley obtaining trash bags from his house and removing things from inside the vehicle. He said he didn't see anything himself, but he did notice 2 trash bags out by his curb.
Did you see what he put into those bags?
No.
You just saw that they were 3/4 full, correct?
Yes.
And they were out there by the trash.
Yes.
And did you tell law enforcement about those trash bags?
I believe I did.
You made it a point to tell them about the trash bags, correct?
Well, no, he was questioning me. He was asking me questions, and I told him what transpired.
Sir, did he pay you for painting that vehicle?
Yes.
How did he pay you?
Cash, like you always did.
How much did you charge him for painting the vehicle?
I really don't remember. 150, maybe 200.
How long does it take for paint to dry?
It depends on the temperature. I didn't start painting that car till about midnight or so. Or got done about midnight. There's no way we could unwrap it, so he slept on the couch in the living room.
Slept on the couch and waited for it, correct?
Yes.
And you were painting that late into the night, is that correct?
Yeah, I got done around midnight. And it has to dry for 4 to 8 hours, depending on the temperature.
On cross, he agreed that he noticed how injured Keatley's left hand was when he saw him. Henry Bowes' former wife was then called to the stand. She testified that she helped Henry with his car business, which he eventually operated out of their home. She said she was there when Keatley arrived at their home with his van on the day after Thanksgiving. She said he cleaned out his van and she gave him some trash bags. She sat out there talking to him, but she didn't see what he put in the bags.
When you saw him cleaning out of his car and removing bags from his vehicle, did you ever have to see him manipulate his fingers around an item and move each digit around a particular item to grasp it?
No.
Did you ever have to see him remove each digit from around an item to ungrasp it?
No.
Did you see he did utilize his left hand more than his right hand?
Yes.
Did you see him use both hands while you were watching him during this time?
Yes.
She said they talked about what had happened to him in January 2010.
And what did he tell you?
He had stated to me that he was unhappy with the outcome. His right hand, he wasn't able to use it really well. He talked about his limp, the damage he had to his leg, and he wasn't too happy about it. He stated that he wanted them to feel the pain that he had felt.
Did he say how he would be able to accomplish that, making the individuals feel the pain that he had felt?
No, he did not.
Did he describe for you these individuals that had committed the robbery?
He had told me that there was 2 black males and 1 black female.
Did he ever tell you that Hispanics were involved?
No.
She said Henry stayed up until about 2 a.m. working to paint the van.
Did you do anything at that time when you made that observation?
Well, I was upset. I didn't do anything except for Henry told me to get him a blanket and a pillow to stay on the couch.
And when you say get him a blanket and pillow to stay on the couch, was that for Michael Keatley?
Yes.
So the defendant was going to sleep on your couch?
Yes.
Is that what he, in fact, did?
Yes.
Had you ever had a customer before stay at your home when they were getting their vehicle painted?
No.
Did Henry Bowes typically work until 2 or 2:30 in the morning when he would paint customers' vehicles?
No.
Keatley's former ice cream business partner, David Beckwith, testified. He said that on occasion he had done target practice with Keatley and said he was able to hold the gun without any trouble.
Do you remember what hand he shot with?
His right hand.
Do you remember how he was holding the gun?
I don't recall how he was holding the gun.
Okay.
No.
Do you remember how quickly or slowly he may have fired each of those rounds? Do you understand what I'm asking?
You mean were they like repetitiously fast or slow?
Yeah, so tell me about that.
I wouldn't say they were fast, but they were, about 2 to 3 seconds apart. Pop, pop, pop.
He said he handled all the customer exchanges on the ice cream van, and Keatley then split profits with him. He also acted as an unofficial bodyguard, carrying a .45 caliber Glock on him at the sales window. It was the same kind of weapon authorities say was used in the shooting.
So you mentioned on the side of the counter there being a gun holster. Let's talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about it.
That's where the 45 was stashed on.
Do you know what type of gun it was? I know you said the caliber, but do you know the manufacturer?
I believe it was a Glock.
Was that the same gun you had previously fired with Michael Keatley on the property?
Yes.
Right. So why is that gun there?
Because he was robbed, and I wasn't going to go on the route without having something to protect myself.
Right. Was that the only gun on the truck?
No. Mike carried a gun on him, too. Actually, he carried 2. He had a .380 and a little .22.
All right. Are those up front, or are they back with you?
They're in his possession. They're on him.
45's with you, though?
Yes.
Maybe not on your hip, but with you?
Yes.
Was it within arm's reach, essentially, then he pointed that you're in the back of the truck? Okay.
Now, once the truck's all filled up, there's not really much room to move around, so, yeah, I was pretty much readily available.
He was asked if Keatley had told him anything about the registration for the .45.
Oh, it was it's what he called a untraceable. He said he got it from a friend of his.
He said Keatley constantly asked customers if they knew anything about who had shot him. He recalled one interaction Keatley had with a little girl.
Mike asked her if she had a sister, an older sister, and she said yes. And he wanted to see a picture of her, and she didn't know if she had a picture, and then he starts getting irritated when she didn't show it right away, and she kept asking why he wanted to see a picture.
Let me stop you and let me ask you another question. Did he tell this girl why he wanted to see a picture of her?
Yes, he did.
What did he say?
He said that he thinks that her sister was involved in shooting him.
Did that girl ever show the defendant a picture?
Reluctantly, yes.
And did the defendant say anything that you heard after he saw that picture?
That's not her.
Okay.
He got that little girl upset for no reason, and it was bad. It was wrong.
He testified that they did discuss getting justice for the 2010 robbery, but insisted that he was not the one who devised an actual plan. He said Keatley wanted to dress up like a cop.
Did the defendant ever say anything specifically about what he wanted to do if he was going to dress up like a cop?
Yeah, take and kidnap him, basically. Make him disappear.
You said basically, so do you remember his exact words?
No. It's been so long.
He said he was willing to help Keatley find the guy and possibly make him disappear. Their work relationship ended after Beckwith said he pulled a gun on Keatley. He was irate because Keatley had started to visit more dangerous neighborhoods on the ice cream route and wouldn't let him get out of the van. On cross, Keatley's attorney accused him of having devised the plan to dress up like cops. He brought up a prior sworn statement Beckwith had made.
Question. Well, what I'm asking you, sir, this was a question. I guess what is your particular plans? What is your particular plans? Mike was going to go up there and go boo, and you would come up behind them and grab them or kidnap people? Did you have any specific plans? Your answer, yep, to act like police officers. That was your plan.
You're saying my plan is mine. It wasn't my plan.
What did you say in a sworn deposition that it was your plan?
It was his plan to do all this.
Didn't you say in a deposition that it was his plan?
I'm not an English professor.
Your plan.
Right? You're saying me. I'm the one that devised all this. This is bullshit. I didn't devise anything.
Mr. Beckwith, you heard me read your answer. That was your answer to the question that it was your plan. And you said yes, because you were going to act like a police officer. That was your plan, right?
It was taken out of context. It's not my plan. You're making it like I'm sitting there devising these evil schemes. I'm not devising any kind of evil schemes for anyone.
Another statement Beckwith had given said that he wanted to tie whoever shot Keatley to a stump and let alligators do the rest.
So you wanted to tie them up to a stump and let the alligators do the rest.
I might have made a statement like that, okay?
And that's what you were telling Mr. Keatley, because you wanted him to feel like you were really trying to help him. I didn't want him to
feel like anything. But if you're asking me if that's the way I feel, then if anybody wants to shoot anybody else and harm another person or do any kind of harm to another person, yeah, I would like to see anyone be tied to a stump and let the alligators and snakes do the rest.
You would tell Mr. Keatley that the individuals that did this to him, were ruthless SOBs, right?
Wouldn't you think that they were ruthless?
And your intentions were to help him solve this crime?
At the time, yes.
And this
is all before he started showing me what kind of person he is.
Wesley Smith testified that he was a frequent customer at the ice cream van. He said his conversations with Keatley often centered on guns. Smith was a machinist. He testified that Keatley had asked him if he knew how to modify guns. Analyst Connie Bell conducted a deep dive of Keatley's computer. She said there were 185 searches on the computer for Creeper. There were 92 searches for Ocean Mist Court, along with several searches for various types of guns. It was a family computer, however, so she clarified that she couldn't tell who specifically had made the searches. Omar Bailan, otherwise known as Creeper, took the stand for the defense. He said on that Thanksgiving night, he was at home asleep in his Ocean Mist Court home. He knew of Michael Keeley because he had bought ice cream and nachos from him previously. He testified that he was only made aware of Keeley as the possible murder suspect when a mass text message began circulating the community in the days after. He repeatedly denied being involved in any gangs in the local area and said he had nothing to do with Keeley's robbery and shooting. Jacqueline Burgess also testified for the defense. She was the mother-in-law of Keeley's sister. She told the jury that the family had all been together on Thanksgiving Day 2010 around noon. She testified that during the meal, Keeley's mother had to help him cut his food because he was unable to use his fork and knife properly. Dr. David Halpern took the stand as well. He had done surgeries on Keeley's hand and shoulder following the January 2010 robbery. He alleged that the injuries Keeley sustained would have made it difficult for him to use a gun.
Given the condition of Mr. Keeley's right shoulder, his grip strength, the condition of his right hand, would he have been able to hold on to a high-caliber weapon without dropping it after repeated shots on November 25th, 2010?
It's unlikely that he would be able to.
And is that opinion within a reasonable degree of medical probability?
Yes.
Are you familiar with a shotgun or a pump-action shotgun?
Yes.
Given the condition of Mr. Keeley's right shoulder and right hand on November 25th, 2010, what would Mr. Keeley's hand positioning have to be in placing a pump-action shotgun into his hand?
Well, it'd have to be placed in his hand, and it'd have to stay within a reasonable axis in front of his right arm, since he really has limited ability to cross over to his left. So if his left is firing, typically the right hand comes over to the left side to fire a shotgun. So the problem is that he doesn't have the ability to come over because he doesn't have the ability to rotate. So it'd be very, very difficult for me to imagine how he would bring his right arm over to then to stabilize something to fire it with his left arm.
On November 25th, 2010, when Mr. Keeley had been able to pump or slide a rack or a shotgun with his right hand without first having to open or extend his fingers?
It'd be very difficult to.
Can you explain why that would be very difficult?
Well, because racking a gun or racking a shotgun is a two-handed event where you have to stabilize the weapon with one hand and rack it with the other. And you actually have to be able to grab something to rack it. And it's actually a hard thing to do. It takes a lot of strength and coordination.
Did Mr. Keeley have that strength or coordination back in November of 2010 based upon your review of the records, your observations of him, and based upon the testing?
Not with his right hand.
He said Keeley had damaged nerves in his arm that resulted in loss of some movement in the hands and fingers. Michael Keeley opted not to testify during his case. Closing arguments mimicked much of the opening statements. The prosecution echoed that Keeley had killed purely out of revenge, while the defense insisted that the wrong man was behind bars. On March 28, 2023, Michael Keeley, now 52 years old, was found guilty of 2 counts of murder and 4 counts of attempted murder. In May, he was sentenced to 6 life sentences to be served concurrently. And that's all for this episode. As always, I'd love to know what you think about this case. You can let me know by finding me on Twitter at CourtJunkiePod, on Instagram at CourtJunkie, or by emailing me at podcast@courtjunkie.com. This episode was researched and written by Law and Crime staff, with additions by me. If you'd like to hear these episodes without the ads, hear additional Court Junkie bonus episodes, or get access to our weekly newsletter regarding fascinating court cases, check out our Patreon options at courtjunkie.com/support. Also, be sure to check out our sister podcast, Civil, which covers interesting civil cases and trials. You can subscribe by searching for Civil on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks again for listening. Until next time.